Oh, that was new.
It's new.
Said this meeting is being recorded. That's
an upgrade.
We can leave the meeting now if we want
Jesus Christ. Yeah, we're all done. See ya. Hey, welcome everybody. This is the Fall Line with KS and Company. I'm Dave Capron. I'm here with Angelo Ross. Yeah. Well, this is the podcast you and I have been waiting for. We can see Mr. Troy Walsh down there, a new PSIA AASI Alpine Team member. We've been waiting for this one for a long time. In terms of months, we've been talking about it, going, we're not putting him on until he gets on that team, which will happen in April, which it did. Welcome, Troy. What's up, man?
Oh, not much. Enjoying the day. Having a little coffee, talking with some friends.
I like that smile, man. That smile's been on there for quite a few weeks now. I like that every time I see you online.
A bit of a weight pulled off, but a new weight has been put back on.
Be careful what you ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. Water's deep.
So did the dogs, did Sherman Smudge look any differently at you when you got back, or did they still give you the cold shoulder because you were away so much?
No, they were pretty excited. We got in. I drove out and we drove back with Pete Howard and got in late, about midnight. And they were like never missed a beat, all wiggles, ready to rock, just like fantastic. So they didn't really care about the national team much at all. Their routine started at 5:30 in the morning the next morning, and it was like, "Yeah, let's go. Gotta go pee. Go feed me now." So it's a great reentry.
Yeah. So what do you do with those guys this time of year, the boys? Because I don't know if people know you got two beautiful labs that you hunt with. You've trained them and had them for a while. I mean, what's the summer get? Because you do a lot of bird hunting with them in the fall. What do you do during the summer, keeping them active?
Summer's kind of a tough time because it's hot, so you can't really run them too much. So it's a lot of walking, just, letting them relax a bunch. I try to get them to swim a couple times a week when I'm around. That's super good. Always retrieving, the guys just will fetch or chase anything, pick it up, bring it to you. So that's always a part of it, but really just trying to pay attention to, on the temperature, because they will run themselves right to the end, if you don't hold them back.
Yeah. Now, I've never actually asked you, as much as we've talked about the dogs having beers after skiing all day. Did you have bird hunting dogs when you were a kid? Like, did your parents have them, or family, or this is just something you get into later?
Something I got into. I knew I've always enjoyed bird hunting. I've always enjoyed being, that October, November time is really a special time for me. And decided, when we got together with Annie and got a house, and it was like, yeah, I think really want a dog. And knew I wanted a dog that would be able to spend time with when I'm bird hunting. So they just took off from there, and I got super lucky with my first dog, Smudge. He's just amazing. He was amazing out of the gate, and still is amazing in my eyes. So it worked out really well. I read a lot of books, was super nervous about training him, and just work slowly. And at that time, I was able to spend a ton of time with him, being able to walk with him. So his routine was the same. Everything was cool. And, there was a bond there. There was a trust bond. So that was really, really pretty neat to experience.
Cool. So we were here today to kind of talk about skiing, of course, because making the team and all that. But what we always do is we go back to the beginning and go, how did your ski life start? When did you start skiing? Who got you skiing? Was it family? Was it friends? I mean, we talked to, Robin Barnes. It was friends that just said, "Hey, we're going up skiing. Have you ever skied?" She's like, "Nope," and then threw her into it. But how did you get started?
It's pretty cool. My dad was a full-time patroller at Sugarloaf for a long, long time, and family and everything got involved and so he stopped skiing. Started working full time. And I remember always seeing skis and poles and old leather boots around the house. And I was like, that's kind of neat, not really knowing what's going on with it. And somewhere around 7th grade, 8th grade, I was able to, my cousins from Connecticut wanted to take us skiing. And I was like, fantastic. I was a skater and, a hockey player before, just pond hockey. And he took us to Sunday River. And that was my first time ever taking a lesson, first time on skis at Sunday River. So Southridge, I know, the same area where you go and get your rentals now for, was the same place I walked through, dark basement kind of place. And I can remember the skis and remember the boots and just remember everything about it. And took my first lesson because it was the guaranteed learn to ski. So I figured that that was a perfect way to set me up because even I could learn to ski if it's guaranteed and give me enough time so I'll be able to figure it out. So did that. And then my mom and dad bought me a multi-week lessons at Lost Valley. So I did that at night after school for 6-8 weeks. There it is. The rest is history.
So it started at Sunday River and it's still at Sunday River.
Still at Sunday River. I feel pretty fortunate, to be able to have that connection with that resort, learn to ski there, taught, still teach there, taught there full time a lot. Was the co-training director with Josh Fogg. Really just took a long time and fostered huge relationships with that resort. I'm very, very lucky to have that hill as my home.
Your dad was a patrol. I didn't know that. And Angelo, he does a little bit of that and all that first aid stuff. And I don't know how he fits it in, but yeah, he's shaking his head. Yeah.
So, not well.
Well, you were doing a first aid course the other night. Specific ski patrol, but
taught some newly minted river guides. I certified them in first aid so they could get to work.
Yeah. So how long did your dad do that?
Did that for a few years. I mean, it was, I don't know how long it was. I believe it was like 3 or 4 years. He'd always tell me the story that, the road would get so bad. If you ever been to Sugarloaf, kind of, the access road, right as you turned on the access road, that used to be just all dirt. So all of a sudden in the springtime, it turned into all mud. And he would go in for 3 or 4 days and, walk in and sleep in the patrol room and, do the whole bit. So yeah, he enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah. Now, Annie was a patroller too, your wife, right?
Sure was. Yeah. That's Sunday River.
That's how you guys met up there, wasn't it?
Yeah. We'd run around the same circles for a few years, either one person was in a relationship or something else, or finally it happened.
So what else did you do while you were skiing before you became a ski pro, like for sports or activities, or, what were some of the other things you did growing up?
All through school was a 3-season sport, soccer, basketball, baseball, and, through high school football. And then all of a sudden, once skiing hit, it kind of felt like that was the thing. I was like, man, I just want to do this. I want to do this as much as I can. So the priority shifted a little bit from, going through playing sports all the time to working more, being able to earn enough money so I could either buy a pair of skis or buy a pair of boots, every other year and get enough money to be able to ski. I always kind of put it out there as if I could get like 20 days of skiing, I would be really, really happy. That was my goal to have that.
Yeah. Now, if we don't get 20 in a month, we're kind of upset.
Yeah, exactly. It should be around 35 before December.
That's right. Angelo's smiling now. He can join that crowd that he retired. Now he can ski that every day, right, bud?
His job's getting away.
Well, see, Troy and I were just like, how do we plan our life to be able to ski? Everything has to revolve around that.
It's a challenge, it's, we are a strange breed. We are, we build this world around, can I take that time and be on the road and be on the snow and be away? It takes a special relationship to be able to work through that, with all our partners. It's impressive.
Yeah. What was it that hit you, said, okay, I think I need to become a ski pro. I'm going to see about ski teaching. Was there someone that said, hey, you should do this? Did you know somebody, or what was it?
I didn't know anyone. And I remember, and here's another funny Sunday River story kind of building. I remember throwing an application in early, and the typical way of applications work. It didn't make it to the right hands. So I was like, I want to be a ski instructor. And I got a call back to go to Sunday River for like cafeteria. I'm like, nope, that's not, I don't know. I'd rather not. I appreciate it, but awesome. And then I saw that Shawnee Peak was looking for ski instructors. So I threw out an application there, went to the hiring clinic there, was terrified of the hiring clinic. That was just like, and I'll remember this activity. It was day one. We had indoor, all this cool stuff. You're meeting people it's just the vibe, how a lodge smells in October and November. It's like, I love that smell. It's just that musty old carpet, probably French fries and just bad stuff. And I remember that. I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. I'm home. I feel good. And then we went out on snow and we had a bunch of, the typical early season patch skiing and ice. And I remember having to do converging stem steps. And my head exploded. I was like, I can't do this. I'm never going to be hired as a ski instructor. So converging steps have a fond place in my heart.
So how long did you stay at Shawnee? Because I know you were there a few years.
I was there for 5 years. I 5 years. I went my first year and just kind of didn't pursue any certification pieces, and then started seeing, just seeing people running around with pins, seeing these training groups, seeing people kind of getting together. And it was kind of cool because it was a community. You saw people wanting to work together, and you'd be leaving the mountain at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night, because there was night skiing there. And you'd be seeing this group of 8 or 10 people getting ready. Now, no lessons going out, and they're going out skiing. You're like, well, that's pretty odd. This is dark. It's cold. It's skied out. But they're good skiers. So, hey, maybe there's something about that group, about, this piece. So I got involved with it, got my level 1, was pretty happy with that for a little while, and decided to move through level 2 the next year. And then, that was back when level 2 was still a 3-day process. Remember all my examiners. Yeah,
they're
absolutely
burnt into the memory.
Oh yeah, I remember every single one that had a time where I had to perform in front of them. So it's huge to think of that amount of influence happening like that. That was really, really fun. And okay, so level 2 went to level 3. That changed into the 4-day process, the 2 and 2, and made my level 2, and then decided from that point, I knew I needed to either, if I wanted to move on, I probably should be moving away from that ski area and moving into a place that had bigger fish. So I entered the pool at Sunday River as a level 3, a new level 3. A level 3 that was out a small hill, and then all of a sudden I dropped into the deep end of the pool because there was a lot of people that knew a lot of stuff at Sunday River.
Yeah. Well, Angela and I have talked about this before, that it's interesting to look back at where we started, because it like laid the foundation. I know I started at Gunstock and was kind of that smaller mountain than where I'm at now. And at the time had some cool people. Dutch Carnan was there. Rick Skelly was there. And there was some other folks there. Tom Perry, who's still there, that really laid the foundation, and I can think of those people, Jerry and Marilyn Everett. Jerry actually, after I was there a few years, became a tele-examiner that influenced me there. And Angelo's had that. You've had that when you first started, right, Angelo?
Yeah, and I was really got a kick out of hearing you, Troy, describe the smell of the lodge, because that's one of the things I talk about when people ask me how I got my start. I remember walking into Seven Springs, and it constantly smells like campfire. They always have fires going, and it hits you right in the brainstem, and and it's like those visceral reactions to things like smells that really, really stick with you. Wonder if somebody should do a study. Where's Pete Allison? Somebody needs to do a study on how many career skiers describe smell when they talk about their first experience. That'd be interesting. But yeah, I remember, seeing the people, and it was like, I was really captivated by how much they knew. I didn't know you could know that much about it. I think that was a big hook for me. I just got like deeper and deeper into it, and then it's like you reach this point, and you're like, oh my God, there's so much here, and you can invest, I think it's what we do, trade other things for this, which is fine. It's great.
Absolutely. I was thinking of that smell, and because like you said, we connect to smell and to time frames. But I don't think it would go very well if you had a stinking glove and someone had this breakthrough moment. You're like, here, smell this glove. I don't think that would work out very well. It'd be fine.
Oh, yeah. There's some smells after that spring skiing too. And, we're out like the really bad one. We're out at like Snowbird in April skiing, and you come back to the room and the socks are hanging on like the lampshade and that. Those are the smells I try to forget.
Yeah.
That's how they're going to make us retire. Like if Sue Kramer doesn't want us around anymore, she's like, here, smell this glove.
Yeah.
Like, if she does it enough, we'll just quit coming.
Yeah. It's like Shostak when he comes in our room tour, and he'll be like, how do you guys live like this? It's like, Bob, we don't live here. We're just here for a couple nights.
Exactly.
He's got everything folded and nice. It's like, we come in, like dump the bag out and like, what's in the bottom of this?
There's got to be something good there. I have to have forgotten something in the bottom of this thing.
Oh, God. Well, you got to dump it out because you don't want to leave those socks in the bottom of the bag. They could be stuck there for the whole winter, and that would not be good.
Stuck to a half-eaten Cliff Bar.
Oh, geez, God, yeah, no way. So when you got going, and what drove you to go to Dev Team and ETS? Was Dev Team like after level 3? Was some folks saying you should pursue this? Was it some other folks around were already looking at that, or had you thought about that before you level 3?
No. Well, no, wait. Let's think. I remember it was kind of in between. I had skied through my level 3, and I was at the ITC back when Pro Jam was the ITC, and it was at Mount Snow, and I skied with Dutch Carnan, so that was fantastic, of course. And I remember seeing Alpine Team members for the first time, and you're kind of like, that's different. They're doing they look like they're doing something a little different. It's kind of cool. And it was back when Murmur was on the team and Terry was on the team. It was all the yellow and black North Face stuff, Miriam, and all. So you just like pretty eye popping skiing and eye popping clothing. The skiing was just like, man, there's something serious there. Saw that, and it kind of sparked some interest about how do you go to that place, and having so many mentors at Sunday River. No, that was prior. So having a bunch of mentors at Shawnee Peak, yeah, they were like, yeah, there might be, if you really want to do this, you got a good opportunity, you got some potential, and thought about it and that kind of started the idea of moving to Sunday River so I could get a little bit more exposure to education staff members on the East, and walked into that place and had Chip and Maggie, rest his soul, Skelly, Langley, Glenn Langley, Lenny Harrell, Dave Greigel, all on education staff. And I'm thinking that I'm pretty good. And all you're like, whoa. I don't have what they have right yet. And just started rat packing off of those guys and having a really good, developing a really good relationship with Rick Skelly and going and moving along with that. And I could take you to the place where all of a sudden my skiing changed, and it was with him, and it was on ugly terrain. And it was like, okay, there's an opportunity there to be able to make something happen.
It's pretty amazing how much influence Mr. Skelly, Rick, has had on many of us, and still does as we're out there skiing, isn't it?
It sure is. It sure is. It's like, if we were all better learners, we would have picked it up a lot sooner. And I recognize the fact that there's still days that you'll be skiing down through and you'll pull off to the side of the trail and you're like, oh, that's what that meant. Okay. And it was only 8 years ago that you received that feedback. Yeah. It's okay. 8 years.
Yeah. I love when Ricky would used to draw in the snow. When he'd be saying something and all of a sudden he wouldn't say anything. Then he'd just start drawing with his pole in the snow. He'd draw some word or something.
Yeah.
And you'd be like trying to read what he wrote in the snow. It's like, oh, okay. Guess I just screwed up there. Let me think about this again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not so subtle sometimes.
He put us into a different learning mode there, Angelo. I don't know what that would be called, but it was kind of like, okay, I'm not going to tell you anything because you haven't listened to me. I'm going to try to make you look at this and then think about it.
That's a smell the glove approach to.
Yeah, smell the glove.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, he used to always get on me too, because I'm better at this now, but I have to say I still hate doing it. I always have, but even you've influenced me on this with like my skis and tuning my skis. And Ricky used to get so mad because we'd be out doing an event and I'd be coming down. I don't know, we could be anywhere. We could be Camelback or Whiteface, and I'm coming down, and at the end of the day he'd go, "When did you tune those skis last?" I'm like, "Did I tune them? No, you tuned them last." He goes, "That was like, I don't know how many days ago or something." And he'd grab the skis. He'd be tuning my skis in the room. But you're pretty, I don't know, I'm going to use the word anal. You're pretty anal about how your skis are tuned. And you've always been very particular. And it's not like exactly, I mean, we've talked a lot. You've even changed it a little bit in terms of just angles and stuff. But how important, can you tell the folks how important it is and how that developed your ski tuning? Because it isn't like only 2 years ago, Troy's like, "Hey, my skis are important." I mean, forever that I've worked with you, even before, I think probably when we were on dev team and that, I knew you really spent a lot of time making sure they were right.
I came to this conclusion very early. I'm not a very good skier when my equipment's not tuned. If it grips when I can do the right stuff, then great. But man, trying to make it grip, it's like just start wiggling around, trying to do stuff. It's like, it just doesn't work. So I needed to have, or I still feel this way, I need to have every advantage, and if I can have a ski that's really, really sharp and really clean, then I'm going to be in a much better position down the line. If the ski grips and I don't have to work at it, fantastic. I can focus on the other big things of how am I balancing against it? How am I turning my legs? How am I getting the arc to perform? And for me, I think there's so much of, we do a lot of exams, we do a lot of these things. Exams have a nasty way of showing up the worst snow or the worst, whatever. And I find that most people, their ski isn't really sharp enough. It's clean. It's not burred out, but boy, you're looking at what they're trying to do and kind of the ski that they might be on, back home, right? What's the springtime exam look like at Stowe or Sunday River or Sugarloaf or Cannon? It's like, it could be glass top, for the first 2 hours, you probably should have something that's going to be able to perform on that. Right? Just take a look around at what the education staff's running around on. That's there's a big clue there.
Yeah. So how did you learn it? Like, I mean, did you get from others? Did you just experiment? What was the process?
This was fantastic. I remember because typical new, I think I made it. I was like my level 2, and buddy of mine, that Shawnee Peak, got the, like the high end reliable racing kit, files and this stuff and all this cool stuff. And that's back when you could send your skis off and get them laser engraved, get the double edge underneath the foot and all that. He did that. And I was just like, I don't have that money. So, but he had this kit. And I remember it was like, if you ever watch Pulp Fiction, when they open up the briefcase and the light kind of comes out of it, it was that. It was like, oh, wow, look at all this stuff. There's files and stones and guides. Before that was just like, grab a file and just start peeling metal and see what happens. Finally, so watching him tune, learning what he was doing and and just paying attention to what I knew I wanted the ski to do. I knew I couldn't do it, it was like, couldn't do it freehand. So the first thing I got was a 2-degree file guide. And that was like, wow, this is amazing. I can do everything with this. And then learning, hey, wow, the base bevel is really important too. Cause that's all you do is file the sides and, be skiing on a saucer or something like that. Finally started realizing that a lot of these things make some big difference. And one, I guess, a few years back, we did a thing at Pro Jam, and it was to learn how to do a ski test. And it was Bill McSherry that ran that one. And I thought that was super cool because it was all of a sudden it took the idea that it wasn't just edge stuff that we were really paying attention to. We were having to pay attention to the grind and the structure, because we've all seen this, right? I mean, how many times, you get on a ski that was ground super aggressive in the springtime, and then all of a sudden you get out on it in November, man-made, and the thing wants to tear your legs off because it doesn't want to slide sideways. And you're like, that's all I want to do is slide sideways right now. It had a huge impact on how that system works. It's not just edges. It has to be edges, boot setup, base setup, how everything worked out. And that really took off. And, finally, after all so many hours working with a hand file, I finally found a grinder, Fogman grinder. And that was all of a sudden that changed your day, because I can rip through 3 pairs of skis in 35 minutes and make them just weaponized. So.
Yeah, I know that Fogman you have has touched my skis with your hands. Oh, Angelo, you have no idea, man. My Evo does pretty good in my hands, but when Troy puts that Fogman on there and the skis go back up to his house, and then I get him a couple days later. Oh, dude, you have no idea.
I'm printing out a label now to send my skis up to you, Troy.
Yeah. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is the base, the grind. Because I don't know what are you running for a grind, Angelo? I always forget what mine's called, because one pair, I think my last year's pair, because doesn't have the grind up. I always forget it. What's the grind we're running, Troy? Because I'm running the grind you tell me to.
It's the blacked out Chevron.
Yeah. That's what we're running. It's the Chevron there, the blacked out Chevron. And I'm running it because Troy had it on his skis. Troy's like bugging me. I don't know, this is quite a few years ago when you first started running that. You're like, you got to get this on there. You got to grind when you grind your skis. And I said, well, I don't want to grind it. Oh, no, you want to put this on there. And I'm thinking grind. He's like, oh, it's super fast. It's slippery. It's awesome. I'm like, okay, it's a grind. It's makes the ski slide. I know, but it's like, come on, man. So I don't know if we were at Bretton Woods doing the NARA race thing. We were doing something, and Troy and I pretty much can swap back and forth till we decided to downsize again in this boot. We can still do it. It takes us a minute now versus just clipping in. But I get on those skis, and I think I skied them, I don't even know if it was 2 runs. And I came up to you, I think, at the lift line and apologized. Because it was like, I'm telling you, it was like night and day running that versus the factory grind. I mean, it was that different in terms of when I wanted the ski to go sideways or even the skis moving forward through the arc, you could feel it. And I was like, yeah, come on, grind. But now it's like, yeah. But I'm spoiled, Angelo. So I run the grind that I'm told to run. So Troy, what are we running now?
We're going to run the same thing for a while. It's scary because if you ever get an opportunity to go into a shop and be able to look at, these, whether or not it's a winter stagger or, whatever machine, there's hundreds of grinds in there. And it's like, man, I wish I had, what I would love to do. I would love to have one ski set up and run 7 different grinds on it and just see what that ski like and then start again and then do the next 7, see what happens, because man, it's like there's some smart people in this world and they're probably all programming those things. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. That's a really good grind for that ski. So that would be super fun to be able to play with just different grinds maybe someday.
Because it does really, I'll tell you, man, we put that grind on when we're doing, even open parallel or anything where we want the ski to maneuver, not just forward, but sideways and forward, or we're doing a side slip or pivot slips. I mean, it definitely is more slippery. For
Agree.
That kind of
the number of times that all fall, we start skiing somewhere around November, we're probably doing events at the end of November, early December. I usually have sandpaper in my pocket because there's guaranteed there's someone that had a grind in the springtime that gets out on that stuff. And it's just watching the ski just go, like, okay, we can fix that. It's not about the edge. It's about the bottom for sure.
Yeah. And this one's for both of you because Troy knows me more in terms of how my skis and that, because he's like Rick would be like, how have you done them this week? Like, what's up? Like, I'll just switch a pair of skis out of the car before I'll tune them. I got to go through the whole quiver before I start tuning again. And that's a pain in the butt. I got them all at once. But for me, it's like, I still lean on, like, I'll get in trouble. Like, I'm skiing the ski and I know it's not right. And I can tell you, Troy, what's I don't like about it. But for me to go to the bench sometimes and fix that, it's easier to have you, or back then it was Rick. I mean, there's a touch to when it's on the bench or when you're tuning that sometimes I can't quite get it done. And I think that's because of my laziness over the years that I had Rick early on. I had Merv Smith Hodge, who was at my home mountain, had you. And when the ski would get really bad or I couldn't quite get it where I wanted when I was skiing it, I'd hand it off. And I still tend to do that when the ski, I mean, we had that ski a couple of years ago. We had to mess around with, you came down the house and we put that on, the base bevel was messed up. I'm just thinking for you, Troy, with your advice, and I don't know what Angelo does with skis, but it's like, for me, that it's okay, I think, for people to reach out and find people that can help them, because you can't just get good in a week tuning skis.
No, you got to mess up a lot of stuff before you get good at it. For all the success that I've had tuning, I've also tuned skis and have been like, this is a nightmare. This should not even be, I should throw this thing in the woods right now. But just trying to, you gotta experiment with and know, I guess you gotta know what you want out of it, right? You gotta know yourself well enough, and you gotta know what kind of performance that you're looking for, because every one of us could go out there and tune to this crazy high edge angle. But man, it's not going to be very friendly when we want to slide, smear it through bumps or try to do something a little bit more soft. You got to be able to be kind of the tactician to be able to say, what kind of tune can I get away with, and what kind of tune can I not get away with? That's super important. I think there's a lot of times that people just drop the ski off and they get what they get, and then they wonder why their performance doesn't change much with that equipment.
Where you at with that, Angelo?
Yes. I'm probably a little bit more of a creature of habit, and I'm fortunate to have a good relationship with the shop at home. So, and the owner, Greg, and I just sort of rotate through skis. And when it starts to feel like it's a little too slippy, I'll take it into the shop and ask Greg to, hey, make this like it was when I unwrapped it. And then I'll ski my other skis until he's done. And I just sort of rotate them through like that. But, it works because they're predictable. But what I miss out on is just that experimentation aspect of it. So I kind of feel like I need to maybe add some of that experimentation. It's probably how you learn yourself and learn about conditions a lot more as you experiment with that.
I agree 100%. And I think a lot of times when we're playing around with this stuff is that it's almost meditation. You get the chance to just be downstairs or in your tune spot. You got music going, and you just kind of relax and you're like, okay, this is what I need to do. I'm prepping the tools for the next day. I'm prepping this piece. And it's so funny on the number of tryouts that I've done. I know exactly where I was the day before any tryout of like, yep, I'm tuning skis. This is what I do. I get my skis clean and everything's good. And then it just brings a certain amount of peace to me, knowing that, yeah, my setup is good. Now I just need to be able to drive it.
So Angelo, because I've been through this process a couple of times with Troy when we get new skis. So, he said, I could do 3 pairs of skis in like 35 minutes now, right? Start to finish with the new edge grinder. Ask him how long it takes him to prep the ski the first time before he grinds.
Hey, Troy, how long does it take you to prep the ski the first time?
Interesting question there, Angelo.
I just thought of it.
Yeah. It's amazing.
How long do you think, Angelo? How long do you think? Make him guess first, Troy. Make him guess.
I'm gonna guess 3 hours.
No, it's not 3 hours. Especially if you start using mechanized stuff, it's like every once in a while I get a little carried away and I just use a belt sander to try to clean up the tip and the tail. But do all the sidewall prep. And if you've ever looked at the tip and the tail of the ski, they tend to be very, very vertical, and you can't get a good edge. I believe that I want to have as much. If I can get a edge bevel on the edge, I want to be able to get it as far up the ski as I can. I want the whole ski to work in the snow. So I'm trying to take that sidewall on the tip of the tail and move it in like this, so I can get a good edge grip up there. The ski's short enough as it is. I want to be able to use it as best I can. So yeah, I'm probably an hour per ski.
That's close.
Hour, maybe a little bit more just to get them prepped up so I can use that grinder. But yeah, it does take some time. This is patient work. You don't want to go and, just blast through it.
Per ski, not per pair.
Yeah, per ski.
Angelo's just smiling. He's like,
oh. But if you have to get another coffee and take a bathroom break, that's 3 hours. So
you're close.
I was totally right.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because when I get that new pair and I'm like, oh God, if I put the grind on it, maybe Troy will get the Fogman on it. He's like, I haven't touched him yet. It's hard to get him to touch him the first time. He's got to be in the right mood if he's going to do the prep for me. But if I've got a little bit of prep on it, because I'll do it and do like he coached me, and try to get the tip and tail crank back, and he still whines at me when he takes that pair the first time. He'll go, yeah, that wasn't enough. Which I think the Fogman probably needs a little more space than my Evo does.
It does need a little bit of space. I want to be able to have, wants to be all nice and shiny on the tip and the tail. That way you don't have to work so hard to get it to work.
But it's amazing. I mean, even the Evo, the edge, the equipment today that you can get, to work on them versus just a straight file. It doesn't just put a great edge; it holds longer, I think.
It's impressive. I mean, to think back on what we probably were skiing on, a few years, 6, 7 years, 8 years ago before grinders were really out. And it's a sharp edge. It's some people just look at it like, I don't want to have a ski that sharp. And I'm just the opposite. I'd rather work at trying to ski it in a little bit, find some big hard spot and throw them sideways and knock it down a little bit, see what happens.
Yeah. So what are you doing this summer to stay in shape? Because I'm not going to say you're out of shape, man. You just finished the tryouts. So you better be in shape right now. But what are you doing to stay in shape, and kind of what are you doing to elevate? I know that you're not going to stay status quo. What are you doing to elevate to get ready for what it will be? Is it the end of October this year?
Yeah. I believe team training is going to be in October. It's kind of interesting because I've always been a person that when I exit the season, I need to take a little bit of time just to kind of let everything settle down. It's like you always end up having whatever little nagging something, your foot hurts or your hip hurts or whatever. So just let everything calm down. But I typically ride a bike. That's my gig. Ride bike, stretch a lot. There's, with Tom Bart, Tom and Margie tried, I'd love to be able to get into a program where I could start doing a little bit more Burdenko. That's, fabulous activities, thousands and thousands of those things. But I'm more curious this year about trying to get into a bit more plyometric stuff, hopping, hopping, jumping, that type of movement, and getting stronger there. That's probably where my focus will be. Trying to be able to get yourself, ready to perform again. That's always the fun thing. It's like you get down to the end of the season and you're like, yeah, I just want to relax. And, after the tryout, I felt like a baby. I ate till I was sleepy and then slept till I was hungry. I did that for about 4 days.
Oh, yeah. Hey, everybody, we're going to take a short break. We'll see you on the next episode of The Fall Line with KS and Company.